second year student of IIM Udaipur and is an HR enthusiast with over 2 years of experience in HR before joining IIM Udaipur. Along with that, she is also an active member of Dhruva, the HR club, and Saksham, the entrepreneurship club. Over to you, Neha.
Mobile and digital media on HR practices. Let us all invite our esteemed panelists on the stage. First, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Singh, VP and HR Head, Sutherland Global. Mr. Shugato Palit, Executive Director, HR Admin Experion. Now I would like to invite Ms. Padma Rajeshwari, Head, Learning and Talent Development, Dr. Reddy's. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Vinod Rai, Head, Corporate HR, Maruti Suzuki. Thank you everyone for joining us for this moderated panel discussion. According to a report published by KPMG in 2012, around 84% of the Fortune Global 100 uses at least one social media platform. In most of the organizations, social media is well established as a consumer and brand-oriented set of tools. It is often offered as an innovative solution for internal effectiveness. Within an HR department, talent acquisitions is one of the first areas within many companies to embrace the social media opportunity for activities like job posting, receiving resumes, making an offer, etc. However, its impact on functioning of an HR department is still limited to recruitment from an HR department to use social tools to get real-time feedback on employees' performance, or take advantage of LinkedIn and Facebook to expand its candidate pool. Also, what are some of the challenges that a human resource department has to frequently deal with in terms of creation, execution, and enforcement of social media policies? With this panel, we would like to explore some of these questions here. To build a basic outline, first each panel member would have about 5 minutes to share their thoughts on the topic. Then we'll have a discussion for about 45 minutes, after which the floor would be open for audience questions. First, I would like to invite Mr. Ashish Singh to share a few words on the topic.
Everyone, would appreciate if you guys can have a more interactive discussion rather than us giving you a lecture. So I've got a small presentation that I would just thought I'd want to share, and it's about the future. It's what people are thinking from an HR perspective. What is it that the organizations are looking at, and this timing is perfectly matching, because last week we had a NASSCOM HR summit which had the theme of change. It was reimagining HR. And to start off, the first thing that the NASSCOM organizers did was to change the dress sense. So that was informal. People were clad in jeans and tees, and it felt like people are coming from the golf courses rather than coming from the business organizations. So that's the kind of change that people are looking at, the HR organizations are looking at, and we are aiming and gunning for it. Okay, so I'll start with the first slide. The biggest line that every HR person thinks is, the real difficulty does not lie with, you know, creating ideas or getting new ideas. It's getting used. It's basically doing away with the old concepts that you've got. So if, I'm not going to repeat what's written on the slide. It's for everyone to understand. But that's the basic fact. The biggest important thing for us is to do away with the conventional things that we practice these days. And that's the theme of our discussion today. So some interesting concepts. For the next 45 minutes that we are going to talk about, or we are going to discuss this thing, this is what is happening on the social media. You have more than 3.02 million people on Twitter tweeting about it, about anything happening in the corporate world. There are so many people who visited Facebook. So that's the kind of impact social media is having on our day-to-day lives. And it's 24/7. It's happening 365 days, 24/7, and we're just talking about 45 minutes. So look at the data. Look at the big data that you can collect in case you start analyzing those data. So that's the thought I thought I'll share with you before we get on to the real subject about how is it impacting our day-to-day life, and especially when it concerns to the HR. So thinking, rethinking, or reimagining HR. Firstly, I'll tell you, we HR people, we're very good at coming up with good jargons, and don't get bogged down. So, I was hearing people were talking about, what was that word? I was talking to somebody and we were talking about, rationalizing is a new concept, and we've moved ahead. Nothing has changed, but we are talking about optimization now. So things change very fast. Very important aspect that you guys need to know is how do you align the business strategy to this HR strategy. In case there are gaps there, everything falls apart. Talks are on, people are thinking, and there are already, if you search the social media, you'll find a lot of discussions around whether do we really require an HR department or not. And how do we make sure that our department is adding value to business? So 3 questions is what I ask my entire team when I'm talking to the HR team. I ask them, how are you adding value to business by increasing their revenue, by increasing their productivity, and doing away with the tardiness that exists in the organization? If you answer these 3 questions, you're going to be not only a good HR person, but a valuable asset to the organization, because you are doing a lot better than you are supposed to do. So those are the things that we feel are going to add a lot of value add when it comes to HR. HR is changing. We started as off with administrative assistants, then we moved as business partners. Now we are looking at strategic value add. We always talk about HR not getting that podium on the corporate floor or on the board. Why is HR not present on the board? It is present, and what makes it happen is the kind of changing concepts that are coming up in the HR. And HR has to align and be a value add to business. If in case you're not adding value to business, definitely there is going to be a stage wherein business will start talking about doing away with the HR department, because redundancy is definitely going to set in. And there's nothing known as constant, especially in the fast changing business world that we are in. It's definitely requires a lot of change. And if you don't change, definitely there are going to be a huge impact on the department. So as we speak, these are the changes that are happening. 46% of the organizations feel that they have to move into mobile devices, because that's the ultimate. I don't want to apply leaves as an employee, looking at the portal, going into the ERP, doing all those things that are required, filling in my login ID, password, and wasting time. Why can't I simply tweet or put a message on the WhatsApp to tell my supervisor that I'm going on a leave? So that's the kind of concept that's changing, and the slides I'm going to share with you guys, so in case you would want to pick up the data, you can always do that. These are the few jargons that you're going to hear a lot. And I thought, instead of me talking about it, I'll just, give you a brief idea about what exactly are we talking about? And I'm kind of feeling tied up here, so I'm going to take the mic and speak. Okay, I'm getting old. I could not see the prompter from there, so I'm coming here. Okay, firstly, you're going to hear about a lot about cost leadership. How, as an organizer or as an HR head or as an HR person, you're going to drive that efficiency and bring down that cost. So increasing revenue, definitely you're not going to be a direct party to it, but definitely you can help the organization increase revenue by building processes that help create an environment for any employee to be more productive than ever before. So that's something that's going to be very important for all of us. And entering at whatever stage, whether it's the basic concept or basic HR person as a business partner, or joining an organization as an SME in various sub-functions of HR. Virtual office, we've spoken about virtual teams, wherein people across the globe form teams, and then they start working on it and then take actions and performing so that they achieve the goals assigned to the team. Now what happens is with the cost pressure, we're looking at doing away with the infrastructure. So you don't need an infrastructure, you don't need people to come to office and work, you can work at the comfort of your homes. And that's the concept. So what it does, it brings in a lot of difficulties in how do you manage those people? How do you look at performances? How do you look at daily performances of those people? And what becomes important is there is a huge demographic profiling difference between when you look at the West, when you look at the eastern aspect of the eastern part of the world, and also culture becomes very important. So there are two kinds of culture that any HR person deals with. One is a high context culture, which is the eastern part of the world, especially when you look at India, Philippines, Malaysia, all the people who are more involved, or they not only connect to the supervisor through emails or indirect communication, they also need to have the physical feel of the organization as well as the leaders. And second is the low context culture, which exists with the United States, the European part, where people are okay. Even if you send them a communication on a regular basis, they're okay with it. So that's the understanding that we need to develop when we're working as a team. Because there are two different parts of the world. It's bridging. It's not that it's not bridging, it's bridging. And we are looking at global teams, the kind of global concepts that are coming in, globalization that's happening. It is definitely coming close, but still that cultural affinity is there. And we are very appreciative as an HR department to make sure that we are getting to both the cultures that are existing. We were talking about circles. Circle is a concept wherein we were talking about the bell curve. So you see a no bell curve star mark there. People are doing away with bell curve. Look at the western area. It's already done away with. Most of the organizations look at Adobe. They've done away with the bell curve. They don't have a bell curve system now. Look at Microsoft. They're moving into that culture wherein they don't require a bell curve. What does bell curve do? Is it puts a limitation. So what performance management system organizations are doing at is more of a result oriented. So there's a task allotted to you, get the task, you achieve what you want. You're a top performer. In case you achieve more than that, then you're a high point or a high potential. So it's very easy. If you have an infrastructure that supports measuring outcome-based performance, you'll get to move away from the bell curve. And Indian organizations are also slowly trying to move away from it, because they want to move away from the limitation that the bell curve sets in. Because in the bell curve, you only know that 5% have to be on the top performer, 60% have to be in the okay range. They have to have some 5% in the bottom. And again, there's a stark difference there. So if you look at the high context culture, it will be very difficult to find those 5% in the bottom of because we don't want to have that kind of discussion with our people. And it becomes difficult. The supervisor themselves find it a difficult situation when they're discussing about the performance and telling them, hey guy, you're a bottom performer and you're not getting any hike for that. So it becomes very difficult. Whereas if you look at the low context culture, definitely you'll see much easier when people come in. So this difference in the way the performance is being measured, and so organizations are looking at moving into the concept wherein outcome-based performance is what is being getting measured. So as an organization, if I'm assigned a task A and I complete it in a decent manner, then I'm a good performer. If I complete it in a better, more than expectation, I'm exceeding expectations, then definitely I'm a high quarter, a high future for the organization. So that's a concept that's going to come in, and by the time you guys move into the corporate world, some of you will join organizations which are already practicing it, and there's a lot of people who are into that transition stage where organizations are moving into the concept that they're doing away with the bell curve and moving into the concept. So circle is a very interesting concept. So, and if you look at an organization, and some of you must be following, there's an organization, a small organization that is known as Zappos. So they've created this concept wherein they've created circles within the organizations. So if I'm an HR head and I would also want to move into, let's say, a financial role, so they'll create a circle wherein I'm doing my primary responsibility of an HR head, but I'm also looking after the finance. So it's a rotation of a job within that circle. So what it does is, it helps me personally create redundancy. It helps me create a succession plan. It gives me an opportunity to learn. Because I'm not going to stay in an organization as an HR head if that's what I'm going to do. There's nothing more to it for me. Ultimately, I'll end up looking outside. And I'm talking about the top level. It is happening at all the levels. Because Zappos has tried it successfully. There are other organizations who are moving into that concept. And that concept is coming to India very sharp. So people are already looking at it. People have had hackathons. So hackathon is another concept that you guys are going to hear a lot. It's all about devising a goal and making sure you achieve those goals in a short time. So people from IT industry, you'll have hackathons around developing a program code. For HR, it will be maybe a software or maybe something that you are planning into trouble. Like you get all these surveys scored and you need to design an action plan. So you include everybody in the organization and design a hackathon wherein you are looking at 3-4 key outcomes from that result. So within 24 hours or 48 hours of continuous brainstorming session that happens in the hackathon, you're going to achieve that result. So it's a concept that you will hear a lot. And there are a lot of organizations, if I were to list down organizations, there will be top 15 or 20 organizations that you always see or you always hear about that are already deploying this kind of concept. SMAC, the concept of this discussion is the impact of social media. So SMAC is basically a short form of social media, mobile, analytics, and cloud. So HR is moving to cloud. I don't need to be sitting into a closed infrastructure to access the data. Not only me as a supervisor from an operational floor, if I can access my data from anywhere except at time. So everything is moving. So I put that slide, but 40% of the organizations that operate out of India are looking into moving into a cloud kind of based technology, because that's the ultimate aim. You don't want to create boundaries, you don't want to create those limitations for people to be doing performance management. So I give you an example of leave. Let's take another example of doing a performance management system. Why do I need to do a performance management system at the end of the year, or only when there is something that's required? It has to happen at the time when any event occurs. So in case somebody in my team does a good thing on, let's say, March of 1st, why should I wait for next June to do the performance appraisal when I can just make a note of that there and then, and make sure even if I have attended the organization, at least that footprint is there for that employee to talk about when he's talking to the new supervisor in the next performance cycle. So these are the concepts that are emerging. Now I showed you the slide about social media. Huge. First thing that I do when I go to the office is to go through all the social media slides, because that's where I get a lot of information. I do a survey, an employee survey once a year. I get to do, let's say, town halls once a quarter. I get to do one-on-ones or hurdle meetings with the team maybe once a week. But is that enough? When you have in 45 minutes you saw the data that's available on the internet, why do I need can be real time. You've got sites where people are giving, the employees are giving their opinion what they want. If I can pick it from them and then analyze that data, it's all about analytics. HR is no longer subjective. It's quantifiable. Anything and everything that you do within HR can be quantified. It's no longer that business partnership model that you're looking at, wherein you are talking about what is the value add that HR can do. I can give for my organization the amount of revenue that I have helped this organization achieve, the kind of cost saving that I've been able to achieve. It's all quantifiable. The data is there. What we need to do, we need HR professionals who are good at doing analytics. And that's something that is becoming very important. So a person who does not do data churning, who does not believe in big data, definitely is on a back foot right now. Even if you are looking at HR. So HR is becoming a wider scheme of things. So you have to have analytical skills, you have to do a lot of research, and in case you can do these two things, you are going to definitely be good in the HR activity. Because HR is something that you can learn, and in case you want to get people experiencing it, you will be able to add a lot of value to the function itself. But it becomes important for everyone within HR, outside HR, to be able to just concentrate on these 3-4 aspects that SMAC talks about. Because this is the word that you hear so many times in all the forums, and people have already studied it. Just do a Google about SMAC, and you'll see the kind of organization that have already into it. Major work is happening around these 4 words. Because that's the in thing, that's what people want, that's the movement that the organizations are looking at. Because you need to capture data. And how do you capture data? And that data needs to be turned into information. And analytics does that. So if, as an HR person, I'm not able to get information about the data that I have, it's the biggest loss. So I'll give you one quick thought before I close down. Every organization, and I'm talking about all large good organizations, they've got fabulous systems. Whether it is performance management, recruitment management system, performance management system, succession planning, the biggest gap that 80% of the organizations feel is they don't talk to each other. So the biggest help that comes, and what is it that we're looking out from professionals and people like you, is when you get into the organization, start thinking how do you bridge those gaps. There is enough data sitting in the recruitment management system that can be utilized in aligning talent to the concerned department. Are we doing it? The RMS finishes at a specific stage, you complete a year, then you do a performance review, you do a development plan, but are those development plans talking to the performance management system, those performance management system talking to the recruitment management system, and are they also talking to the succession management system? That's going to be very important. And this is what is going to be the future of HR, because data is there. There's no dearth of data. And we are lucky to be in this stage where we've got so much of data available with us that we can talk about it, we can sleep on the bed of data. But is it going to give you that result that you're looking at? Is it going to add value? Firstly, yourself. And one thing is very, very important. Enjoy what you do. And how will you enjoy? If you are adding value to something, you will enjoy. Otherwise, it will become redundant. There's nothing known as constant. If you be a constant performer, you will never be able to succeed. You have to constantly improve to come to that constant. But in case you want to improve, then you have to put that level. That's going to be very, very important. And thinking practical, the thinking ability to implement certain things is going to be very, very important. So with this thought, I don't think I have anything else in this slide, but I'm looking forward to a lot of question answers. I was brought into Sutherland to make sure that the transformation happens. We're making it happen, it's happening, and we're seeing results. And it's all quantifiable results. With that, I think I'll let it go back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Shubhranshu Palit to share a few words on the topic.
I'm present to remain senior in this time. I'll just be very quick because I think Ashish has set a very, very wide context for whatever social media and its impact on HR so far has always been linked to, talent acquisition primarily, and we're talking about LinkedIn and stuff like that. So my first point to put on the table is what really is impacted by social media in HR. So is it employer branding? Is it talent acquisition? Is it policies? How do we, where's the crossover of technology and social media? Because there's a lot of things which are online, which are ERP driven, but not necessarily social media driven, So that's one of the things where HR gets impacted. That's one point. The other point is also the dichotomy. We keep talking about, in terms of it's very important to be present on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. But the irony of the situation is when we set policies in place, we take very serious exception if employees are on Facebook. We feel they're philandering their time away and they're getting into stuff which they're not supposed to. They're supposed to be working. So if Facebook is not working, if LinkedIn is not working, then how can we as HR professionals claim that it is a tool which we want to use to deliver the business objectives? We cannot have two different perspectives. The third is social media driving business or vice versa, wherever there is a link. So it's a question of chicken and egg, because many times social media and technology is driven by the business needs, and sometimes it's the other way around. So it's far easier to post your resume through email than I think some 20 years ago when somebody had to kind of typewrite it out and courier it across and hope that it gets faxed across. So these are some of the elements which I think we really need to put on the table and figure out how it's going to be handled, how capable the organization is, more importantly mature it is, to deal with the various elements of social media on HR. All yours, Padma.
Thank you for your valuable insights, sir. Now I would invite Ms. Padma Rajeshwari to share her views on the topic.
Very short, and what I will try to look at is really social media not in a pure sense of a LinkedIn, a Facebook or Twitter, but more in terms of social media as replicated within the organization. And what I would also try to do is keep it short, again in interest of time. I have a few slides, but I'll quickly browse through the slides, and I think as we are discussing, I would be happy to respond to them. So I think as HR, I don't have to repeat, we have been laggards in this as compared to other functions. Some of the questions that we can ask ourselves is, can we appreciate people through social media? Can we recognize people through social media? Can we engage our employees better? And as organizations grow older and older, what becomes the big challenge for organizations is, how do you ensure that what happened 30 years back, how Dr. Ranji Reddy, in our case, for example, when he started the company, what was it like at that point of time? A management trainee like all of you joining today would never have the good fortune to interact with him, right? So how do we ensure that we inculcate and ensure that that culture is passed on? How do we ensure that employees are collaborating with each other? And more importantly, how do we make lives of employees simpler? How do we provide them just-in-time learning? So what I'll try to do is quickly walk you through just a couple of examples. So the first one, I hope it's visible to people in, towards the back. It's about appreciating employees. So we have a social media platform within the organization wherein we can appreciate employees on the social media platform across the globe. So I can appreciate an employee sitting in Kazakhstan or Ukraine or Uzbekistan, and it's visible to all the employees across the organization. Then moving on, these are actually some of the screenshots that we have. I'll try to capture them here. Recognition, right? That's organizations resort to giving awards once a year. You can give awards once a quarter, but how often can you do it? And employees look forward to some form of recognition. And when you give a recognition, you also say that I give a book, I give a a memento, and a lot of time people say, oh, you know what, I got that book last year also, right? So people get bored with the kind of gifts which are given away. So we created a platform wherein you get points, just like the Citibank points or like ICICI Bank. So you have the reward points, and your manager or anybody for that matter in the organization can reward you with certain gift points. So again, I got some 5,000 points, and I can choose any of the gift items using those 5,000 points. So it gives a liberty to the employees to pick and choose what they want to buy. The other example, this is a long one, I would like to go a little in detail later on, but this is something that we did which is called I Am Dr. Reddy's campaign, which really helped employees across levels, across I would say different parts of the world to really connect with each other. What we had done in this was through the social media platform, again the internal one, we asked employees to share their stories of professional change, personal change and social change. And this we ran for 1 month, and in that 1 month we got about, I think we got about 1,000 stories, and there were 35,000 votes. So what happened was each person, anybody can share their story. In fact, it started with Dr. Ranji Reddy. This was about 2.5 years back, so he was still alive. He shared his story of how he started Dr. Reddy's Foundation, which is the social arm of Dr. Reddy's. Like that, we had G.V. Prasad, who is the CEO and co-chairman currently of the organization. He shared about what happened on the very first day he joined the organization. Similarly, we had stories from other employees who shared about how they joined the organization. We had a lady from a minority community. She joined immediately after completing class 12, and how she got educated as she worked, and today she is working as an associate director. Very inspiring stories, and everybody could connect through this, and it became a common talking point for everyone in the organization. There is a CEO blog which is there to share his management perspective, but to be honest with you, I have questioned this because Prasad who shared his blog, he writes about it after 1 month. But when I send a letter where everybody is getting and of course, just in time learning, we are doing it extensively for our medical representatives, where your product information is something that they will read in their TPAs. Then I would end this by saying that the possibilities are many. Many a times we just get came back to our room thinking, so there's a lot of
Thank you so much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Vinod Rai to share his views on the topic.
One special activity which we have done in Maruti. Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? So good afternoon. I remember the old time in 1995 when I started my career. During those times, we used to get a CV through hard copies. Collecting the hard copies, filing it, taking it out, and showing to the bosses. Those are the time when we should think about, can we do something? Can we have some mechanism where we can filter the CVs? Who are the people who are suitable for the role? What are the qualification, standards? So those are the time. And now that the time is like that, we're getting CV, we get a communication, they ask the feedback, and then the reminder number 1 and the reminder number 2. This is the kind of scenario at the moment. So I will take you through 3-4 slides about how we are using social media in Maruti. So can I have the first slide, please? So some facts about, I think you must be knowing about it. More than 80% people are using social media, and that too mostly using a LinkedIn. LinkedIn are only used for the hiring purpose. As mentioned by Neha also, Fortune 100 companies are using social media, and China is the country which is largely using social media, especially with the blogging, sharing information, followed by Brazil, Russia, and India. So where are we using the social media and the current HR processes? I think three common baskets where it can be used, or in fact are being used now, is the collaboration and the collectivity, communication, hiring, and the talent management. I'm sure you must be knowing about one incident happened in the Maruti Suzuki in June 2012. You remember that? Where it has happened? Manisar. That's correct. After the incident, there was a breach of trust between the management and the union. So whatever we used to communicate to the unions, they never used to talk to us. So we thought to let's build a education policy for them, let them make understand how the business are doing, what is the growth path. But all the training sessions, they never used to come to for trainings. We don't know what was the reason for that. We interacted with the bosses, some of the key members from the union also. They said, no boss, we don't have time, we can't come to you. So in Maruti there's a line, it's a Wagoner line, Swift line, SS4 line. In those lines, there was one group who were working in the Wagoner line. They formed a WhatsApp Wagoner group, and they used to communicate. And the communication was very clear. These HR guys doesn't understand my need. What I want, they don't understand. They just call for the training. Do they understand how we are working, how we are eating here, how the climate here? So one of the information came in HR also. Then we thought as a pilot, since this is good information which we have got, can we run as a pilot? Can we send some of the HR guys who should go actually in the shop floor and they should work there? So we have chosen two areas, shop floor and the paint shop, where we have sent HR guy to stay there to work for 6 months. When they went there, they understand their psyche, their thought processes, and then they started realizing that, you see, the HR guy is also coming and working with us. It has gone very, very well. And there is a bonding among the union and the blue collar with the management. Now we have made it mandatory in Maruti 2015 onward. The people who in HR who have spent more than 3 years, it's a mandatory for the 6 months they have to work in the shop floor. 6 months they have to work in the sales and marketing. It's a mandatory because unless until you know your businesses, you can't able to perform. So this is one of the breakthrough which we are able to got only with the social media. Hiring definitely very widely been used by a lot of companies. Maruti is also doing hiring, but the problem here is that the management, talent management side, you can do virtual trainings. Maruti is also doing the virtual training here. But what are the challenges? The biggest challenge which we are facing is the data security, and these are data which we have got from LinkedIn and the socialmedia1.com. But my understanding, apart from data security, two factors which is very, very challenging at the moment is the interest of the employee. If you're working in HR and LinkedIn or Facebook is just one part of your job, you tend to lose your interest. So this is also one of the key challenges here. And number 3 is the maturity of the people. See, interview process or selection of the CV depend upon the maturity of the person who's taking interview or who is shortlisting the CV. So these are the 3 challenges I feel is the key challenges in the social media side. So my understanding is that this is a good technology which has a far-reaching effect, but we have to make something where there should be personal bonding. Social media is very popular in West country, but India people are very emotional, they are very sensitive, they need a personal touch. So we have to devise something where which we can offer a very high tech and high human touch should be there. Because the social media companies are getting faceless day by day. So we have to rethink once again how we can leverage, how we can bring a more human touch so that we can take maximum utilization of the social media. Thank you very much.
Experiences shared by the panelists, I could gather that social media tools are changing the way corporations work, and it will continue to do so. Employee engagement and knowledge sharing are the 2 areas that organizations are focusing on. Beginning with panel discussion, my first question is open to all the panel members. According to a Gallup research conducted in 2013, only 13% of employees around the world are actively engaged at work. how far would you agree to the statement that if controlled appropriately, social media has the potential to increase employee motivation and engagement in an organization?
I would like to answer this question, rather taking it first. I'm surprised to hear that only 30% of the employees are engaged, because if that's the case, the world would be in a completely different condition. So I would question the data. But having said that, yes, any organization would have certain employees who are either actively or passively disengaged with, with the organization. And I think social media will be just one of the tools to engage employees. The fundamental thing is about giving them the right kind of role so that it excites the employees to do the best in the organization. And that can probably be done through social media by helping I'm facing a problem. Is somebody else available or has a similar problem that can be solved in a better way and in a faster way?
Okay, so is it working? Yeah. So I will not question the data, because if Gallup has done a survey, there must be something to it. Look at the promotion rate. Organizations are looking at 10% promotion year on year. Look at the rate at which you're moving lateral employees into other functions. So those two things, if you look at it, it's very convincing that 30% people definitely engage, because they're not looking at that organization for being the organization of their choice. What it does, it throws an opening for all of HR people to start thinking, how to get them engaged? Okay, playing games, getting this, having parties, that's not the way of keeping people engaged. People have moved on beyond that. How to get them engaged? The basic tool that you have that will help you keep them engaged is making sure that you provide sufficient opportunity of learning, development, and making sure that those employees are aligning themselves to their career of choice. There are two different things. Firstly, is the organization becoming an employer of choice? And secondly, are you providing that opportunity to that employee to choose his career of choice, his or her? So that's one thing that we can start doing I'm pretty confident that percentage is definitely going to rise. And that's what we all are learning. We know it's difficult to recruit. We know it is difficult to get the right talent. And that's the simple way of getting it done.
See, it's also depend on the speed. What information you're getting. If the speed is if you're able to execute, answer them in a speedily manner, then there's possibility they will be engaged or they will feel they are motivated. What's currently happening? We are getting a lot of information are with us, but when we talk to the employees, we're not talking what they want. In fact, they are looking for how they can get a career growth, how will they develop in the company. Rather, we are talking something else. It's part of getting the data. The point is that once you have the data with you, how you are going to utilize the data?
Is this audible? Yeah. Okay. Taking off from where Padma left off, I think one of the most important things which determines the degree of engagement, I personally still believe the data is not accurate, is the fact that it's underpinning of the organization's culture, and that's the most important aspect. If an employee's values or behavior pattern matches the organization's culture, it's high impact. So that's one part. The other part is whether you're a listening organization or you're a telling organization, which is where employee engagement happens. The fundamental paradigm of employee engagement is everybody hears to the ground. Okay, so now here is where you really need to figure out where social media can help. How can social media, let's say, enhance, underpin the organization's culture and value systems, and B, how can it help the organization be a better listening organization? And I think you touched upon some very interesting points in terms of, yes, we talk about talent acquisition, but we talk about employer branding. It's very important to recognize employees, in terms of motivating them to keep communicating with them at all times. Yes, there are flip sides of, let's say, data security threats, etc., but they'll always be there. They'll always been there, irrespective of whether there's social media or not. I think the organizational maturity in translating those social media platforms, once again, reinforce the
next question is to you, Mr. Palin. Since you spoke about the culture and the communication in an organization, how do organizations handle the initial resistance to change by the employees when a new social media practice or a new technology is introduced in an organization?
See, that's a very interesting question. The way we would have dealt with it in our organization is create a need for a change, okay, and have it come from the moment you start telling them what needs to be done. There is always a resistance. So what we do in Experion, and learning can come at any level. It has to be co-created and co-owned. I think 90% of the problem is done. Too often, some of us make the mistake of saying this has to happen, this is how it is to be done, and we find people who are not communicated well enough, not being aware of the big picture, and there is resistance. Then we are fighting the resistance rather than creating the change. And then the entire focus, energy, resources gets diverted into something which was never meant to be there in the first place.
And would you like to add something to that? Mr. Singh, since you spoke about aligning business strategy to HR strategy in an organization, it is seen that many companies that use social media, they struggle to successfully integrate it into their business routines. While introducing a new technology or practice, how do corporations ensure that it supports an organization's vision and strategy?
Yeah. So the most important thing is picking that technology. It has to first align with this business strategy. If it's not adding value to the business, then it's not working. Secondly is getting the management to be converged or okay, giving us a go ahead for using it. Thirdly is there's only one thing that helps you succeed, and that is communication. So enough communication is required, not only that how you are implementing the technology, but the outcomes. So it has to be more outcome based. What is the advantage? So how is a team leader, let's say for an example, going to accept the technology? In case he feels that he is getting sufficiently armed with a lot of information that's going to help him succeed in his job, he will definitely accept the technology. Why is he going to oppose that? But if it is simply adding red tape, if it is simply adding bureaucratic hurdles, definitely that technology is going to get it. And you'll have masses of messages on the social media talking about it. There's been an incident with Infosys, I'm not sure if you guys have followed. They implemented a policy, and more than 3,000 tweets were there on within 24 hours. Because it doesn't work out. You have to have a plan before it, you have to have a strategy before it, and all these things, especially in human resources, it touches the masses. So if you're looking at an organization which has 1 lakh employees, it is indirectly or directly going to touch the entire population. So you have to be very, very careful what you're choosing and what's going to be.
Thank you, sir. My next question is to you, Mr. Vinod Rai. We understand that every organization wants to attract and retain the best talent in the industry. As students, we always wonder how much importance organizations give to potential candidates' social media profile like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc.
See, when you do hiring through LinkedIn or Facebook, you need a big backend support. Understand, if you don't have good backend support, not queries are good. You reply the query very fast. But number two, you don't know how serious the applicant are. A lot of CV you keep on uploading, they just keep on supporting the CV and keep asking for what is the feedback. You don't know how serious they are. I just want to add a small thing which we actually done in the Maruti also. Maruti, we had a GT of around 500 number every year. It's a big number of GT we have. Around 60-70 MBS we have all IMT. Now there is a trend, 2011, 12, 13, 14, that we have seen that whatever the requirement we have, what offer we make generally 110% offer. Joining us only 80%, 79%. So we have seen why there is a gap of joining. Being a really good company, in the engineering graduates, this is the dream company for them. Maruti is one of the dreamest companies. So we wanted to relook the entire process. The process says we start our all India test in August 1st week. And by end of August we start going to all the campuses. And we complete the on-campus process by end of October. And joining happened in the month of 1st July. So October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June. So there is a gap around 7 months. So there is no connectivity, there is no engagement. So there is no touch point. You used to send just one mailer, this is joining date, this is your accommodation will be there, this is salary, how you get promotions. So last year as a pilot, we have joined hand with Facebook, and we have created a Facebook there as a GED batch 2014, and we have given the linkage to all the people whom we have offered. And we said, you please form the group, and I was the moderator. I said, whenever you have any query from the HR side, HR will come on picture after 5 p.m. When the HR will come, we will get all the queries. It was a load of queries there. Queries right now, where will you stay? Will you get a chance to go to Japan? If yes, then how soon? Is there policy in job rotation? If I join in R&D, will I get a chance to go to supply chain? If I join supply chain, will I get a chance to go into QA? So these are queries which we started giving answer. In the middle of December, we also said the people who are going to bring a lot of maximum solution or maximum problem, they will be rewarded at time of joining. Again, the flow was increased in big number. There was buzz created there. 1st of July, when they joined this year, 2014, my number was 485, joining was 512. This is a huge joining number. So I think this is what the success which we have tasted, and we want to continue the impact of the social media.
Yeah, so very interesting question, and I can tell you very surely, resumes are going to be the day of the past, because organizations are looking at the electronic. We've got softwares that capture all the electronic footprint that exists for any individual. So if you're moving into that, why do I need to do a look at a resume because you can fake it? Why do I need to look at references that you give and then I can get it online? It's all there online. Why do we need to go ahead and waste paper, trees, and all that? Then everything is available online. So there's a day that's going to come very shortly where you're going to say that the resumes are going to be of the past. It's all going to be depending on your electronic footprint that exists.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, would you like to add something to that?
Just would like to add what Mr. Singh has said. Agreed, there's a lot of data which is available. At the same time, it's important to apply some caution to the data which is being looked at. Because if I add something on LinkedIn, there's really no verification or validation about what I'm adding. So I can always say that I went and did my MBA from Harvard. Harvard is not going to look into that data and really see whether I have done it or not. And we internally have actually caught some employees within the organization who have given wrong information on LinkedIn. So in certain cases where it was really impacting the team and they purposefully gave it, we actually took some action against them. But when I'm looking at a potential candidate, I wouldn't know. So it's agreed, data is available, but applying some caution is something that
I would agree to that, ma'am. Mr. Palit, since you spoke about the social media policies, do you agree that for most of the corporations, their social media policies are negatively oriented, directing employees what not to do? What are some of the factors that a human resource function considers while designing its social media policies?
Okay, as far as we are concerned, we don't have a separate social media policy. We do have what is an internet usage policy in the broader scheme of things, and I think that's more common in most of the organizations. And it checks more about ethical morality of the sites you visit, rather than determining the bandwidth consumption which you use. So what we do is we have firewalls in place for specific sites, but in principle, we don't really try and talk about it. What we try to encourage people to do is to use the internet viciously, okay? And we alert them that there is an IT department which monitors, okay? Now the risk is on your head, okay? So if you use Facebook for the purpose of putting up a digital marketing campaign, it's fine. You may even occasionally check your messages with your friends. That's fine. We can't expect 8.5 hours, 9 hours of nose to the screen. Always working. There are people who like coffee breaks. There are people who take a smoke break, and there are people who like to take a LinkedIn or a Facebook break. That's all right. But if you're continuously watching the latest movie trailers on YouTube and building a bandwidth for the organization. That's what we like to monitor. Where is the bandwidth going? Because ultimately it's a paid service. Okay, and it slows down the internet for everybody else. So that's really what our policies are all about, is responsible usage. And in certain cases, we really like to define that there are certain sites which are firewalled by whatever logic that is applicable. And in the event that it is misused, well, we will make it public. So we don't really want to monitor like a nanny sitting with a magnifying glass looking over your back. But if there is a case, we will make it public. So it's okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Since we are running short on time, I would now open the floor for audience questions. We have about 10 minutes for audience questions.
So the thing is, we talk about social media and we see that for every individual there is a good amount of data. We can do the profiling. My question is regarding privacy. If I draw an analogy, the credit score is shared, is now in a public space, and companies can look at it. But in many developed countries, there are litigations that why my credit score is revealed to the companies. So in some countries, people said that court said that it should only be revealed to the banks. So it's same in the social media space as well. One person can be little mischievous on Facebook, and is it not like blurring the boundary between professional space and personal space?
So if you are there on the social media, it's all, you can't have, you can't enjoy the privacy in case you're doing it on your social media. So it definitely can impact what we said. It becomes very important to rationalize the information that exists on the social media. But if you're looking at, having a footprint on the social media, and then you feel that there's a privacy law that's going to exist, that's definitely a controversial to discuss. Secondly, the privacy laws are very strict, let's say, in Europe, etc. So how it does is the data from those countries can't be cloud shifted. But in case you have a data center that exists internally in those countries or NGOs, then it becomes easy. So from Europe, if you want to bring that data to India, it becomes a problem. But if I have a data that's happening, say, from Europe, it makes it it's all there. I don't catch it, something else. So in case you want to integrate privacy, stay there.
It's true. And the last part you asked person, and there is that human element which you just can't ignore. So there is nobody who can say that I'm Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So it is a continuum. And the kind of person I am in real life or outside of work life will have a huge implication on how I work in an office environment. So try hard as I may, I would not be able to segregate that completely. And it's probably not even desirable to do so. Though sometimes it does color our thinking, and give a very silly example, people have very different photographs in their LinkedIn profile versus their Facebook profile. And there's a reason for that. They believe that professionals will only go and see their LinkedIn and then I have to be nice and I'm tied in a suit or whatever. And in the Facebook profile, it's okay to be in shorts and sunglasses on the beach. But sometimes employees try, check all the profiles to see what kind of person is this person social, is this person, a person who's gregarious, is he very stiff, or very sober, serious. Sometimes it does happen. People do that as consultants. And I think it's all right to do so. Anything you put up on the net, as Ashish rightly pointed out, is not right. It's for the whole world to see.
See, the social media is still evolving. I want to quote an example. The BMW is entering India in a very big way in the used car market. Polar is also coming in sports car in a very, very big way. They have interacted with Maruti, they interacted personally with me. And they were discussing with me, tell me which are the people in India who are available in the social media, whom should we hire? I said, we can hire anybody whom you want, whom you think fit for the organization. They said, no, the younger population whom we have interacted, the information is not correct. They met few people, information is not correct. Then they had done one more survey. They found that people with the experience of 10 years and above, their information was rather 80% was matching what they have shown in the profile. My point is to add on their point is that this is evolving. What MNCs are coming who are already using, they have seen success in the country, so they will bring it to the operator.
Yeah, I know the marriages proposal get turned down.
Before we reach home, our spouses tell that this proposal came and I have complete record. Please see and say no to that proposal. So not only job, your partners in life will be, you will be carrying a risk, you know. You may not get a good partner in life unless you are careful. So there is nothing private, be very careful. That's my personal suggestion.
One more question.
Good morning, sir. You've spoken about engaging employees, meeting them, and engaging in various social and digital practices that organizations are adopting. So, is there any mechanism which you evaluate the impact of seeing employees?
Sorry. So it is not at this point in time very easy to draw a regulation. There are obviously basic mechanisms like gates, and you can figure out who's the IP address by somebody's investors, etc. So you can have some measure of who's visited and what's happening. Now, to my mind, at least the way we are as an organization in our stage of evolution is that it is a problem. It is not a mainstay. And so, like various other initiatives which go delivering one particular outcome, social media was one more initiative. Now, obviously, over a point in time, the impact and the relative, let's say, size of that influence was higher and higher. That's how it was moving. Our 0.1 on social media transmission. Do we measure directly? I don't think we can get, but do we believe it impacts us positively? We do that because we do get a lot of feedback. There are times when we go into our internet, put up something, there's a lot of favorite positive and there are a lot of training which is done through that. So there's a high degree of acceptability. We do take feedback, we do take customers, internal customers' comments. So the sound is very positive, it's upbeat, and I think it's a good way to go.
So I think this on everyone who works together has said the employee engagement campaign that we had, I have already in our organization, that really helped us build the employee engagement. And we saw a difference in score in every year people organize, or even lateral employees who join. These days, unlike the gray-haired people like us, people are very impatient for growth. Okay, they join and 5 months later, so what's the next role am I going to get? Then am I going to get the next promotion? When do I get the next role rotation? So these things are constantly there on the mind. And through this I Am Dr. Reddy's campaign, they actually got to hear people who started as a executive level employee on the shop floor and went on to become the head of IR, Industrial Relations, and he's a vice president, and he has covered this journey in just 25 years, right? And he's also not, MBA from any of the, so-called great institutes. So that helped indirectly answer a lot of questions and helped improve our scores in terms of organization.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was insightful for all of us. With this, I would like to close the panel discussion here. I would like to thank the panelists and the audience for their active participation. To summarize the discussion, we first started discussing the employee engagement, wherein we touched upon motivation among the employees. Then we briefly discussed the culture and communication in an organization, wherein we talked about resistance and acceptance among employees. We also discussed organization strategy, its vision and mission, use of social media policies in recruitment and other processes. And also we touched upon the topic of real-time feedback in an organization. We can conclude from the discussion that to effectively implement and cultivate the appropriate usage of social media, it is essential for organizations to develop effective communication plans that allow for ongoing dialogue and feedback. With this, I hope the discussion was fruitful for everybody here. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
This discussion brought out opinions and insights on different media together and gave us a perspective of how the digital space is being used in corporate sector. Thank you panelists and Neha for the insightful discussion. We now request Professor Srinivasan Tatachari to kindly come on stage and felicitate the panelists.